All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance to Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for podcast number 7?
8.
8.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, guys, number 8. Wow. And we're going to be specifically talking about the relevance of character design in storytelling.
Yes.
Of course, this episode. But first, of course, we have some announcements.
That's right.
Really cool, guys. By the way, this is month 2 of having our Patreon up. So,
Yep.
woo! You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
And although, we're having, issues here and there with Patreon and stuff, it's really impressive just how generous you guys are and how much support you've thrown our way. And not only that, but how engaging you guys are with us on not only just, YouTube comments and stuff like that, but on our Discord and stuff. All you guys out there on Discord are the best. We love you all.
Out.
And yeah, we want to give a huge shout out to you.
Yeah.
In particular, though, one of our awesome Discord members, who I'm going through the VIP people in our Discord reward tier, well, our Patreon reward tiers, is Lunar Legend. Lunar Legend, I would specifically shout out because he has been an awesome source of encouragement for us as YouTubers, but also doing a really good job of managing the spoiler comments in the YouTube videos. And
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it means a lot, dude. And also just being a generally awesome guy for talking about anime and storytelling and the like. So, dude, shout out to you. You're awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we've got a schedule, but, we give you guys a little bit of a refresher every time we get one of these podcasts up. So what's the schedule look like?
So, Tuesday, Hunter x Hunter. Wednesday, Psychopaths, coming up towards the end. Thursday, another Hunter x Hunter episode. Friday, My Hero Academia. Saturday, RWBY Chibi and JoJo's. RWBY Chibi is almost over.
Almost over, because what's coming up really soon?
RWBY Volume 5, which will replace RWBY Chibi on Saturdays.
Yes, so for those of you that have been essentially living under a rock, RWBY Volume 5 is coming out soon. Yeah. But also, if you haven't watched RWBY up till Volume 4, you're missing out.
Yeah, catch up.
You're really missing out. Go check it out, roosterteeth.com or their YouTube channel for Rooster Teeth. It's a very worthwhile show.
Yes.
Even if you're not into every single bit of it, it is definitely one of those shows that you want to support because you can see the potential of something like this if it keeps getting more and more fans and more support. So check it out. It's really good.
But then on Sunday, we've got Haikyuu.
Yes, of course. Haikyuu.
And it wraps all back around to the beginning again.
Yep. And particularly with that, wanted to bring up kind of this general question that's been going around the channel a lot of us kind of doubling down and having more episode reactions of specific shows that are longer. And we did this very hesitantly with Hunter x Hunter.
Right.
Because of the nature of Hunter x Hunter's pacing, the length of the show, and also our desire to watch it. It was kind of a test, but we generally are not going to do double episode reactions per week. It behooves us to give each show's episode a good meaty discussion. Right. Even if it's something that won't necessarily bring out much discussion, there is so much we can actually do if we keep each show a novelty. If we
and also we want to make sure that because we do have a lot of long-running shows right now, we want to make sure that it doesn't get too clogged up with just the same shows for the next 6 months or whatever.
Well, no, that's different than what they're talking about, because what they're talking about is we don't want you to have to wait a year to finish a show or something like that. And the idea that we're basically saying is that don't worry, we'll replace a lot of shows as they end with other shorter shows. Right. So you'll get this nice kind of fresh element of having new shows come in, but particularly with certain shows longer, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, for instance, Jacob and I are not going to be doing 2 episodes a week with that. However, if we hit some of our goals and there's just an overwhelming majority of people that would like to have 2 episodes a week of JoJo's or something like that, we'll think about it, but our priority is primarily going to be bringing in new shows
right
as they go. Like this show that everyone's talking about right now because it just finished recently. It's really short. Made in Abyss.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's an example of a show that would be going, oh, okay, that's something that's
right.
we both haven't seen. It's short. Bring those into the polls, and be on the lookout for polls coming into our Patreon, because those will be coming up in a very short amount of time. Probably not this week, but pretty soon. Okay, so character designs with storytelling.
Yes.
Jacob. Why are character designs so important?
Well, one of the main reasons is because the human attention span is very, very short. So having a character design, and this isn't relegated just to like anime and things with a visual aspect to them, right? You can do it in books too. But basically, it differentiates them from all the other characters that the audience has seen or read in other stories. Because if you've like where I'm at right now, it takes a lot for me to actually get invested in a character, because so often it just seems like the same old, same old.
Or just you've seen them before.
Right, or you've seen them before. And the character design is one of the ways to basically grab the reader or the viewer's attention and say, hey, we're going to be doing some cool things with this character in the future, as sort of like a way to just show your ability to be creative and original.
It's also a form of storytelling that's showing and not telling.
Yes.
And when you use showing and not telling, especially in a visual format, it's very easy to have this moment where your imagination fills in a lot of potential story that the author might not even be intending to tell anytime soon. But if you have a keen eye, you'll notice these things way before they're actually revealed. And then when they actually get into this character's story, based around a little bit of the character design, you go, that makes sense. That connects the dots. There's a couple characters two characters in particular, one of each of us are going to be going over, and there are visual elements of each character's design that you can kind of infer a couple other things with their story potentially in the future. Whereas some of them, like Jacob's character, the designs are so striking. The character is completely carried in terms of story on the design alone. And that's something really, really impressive, to say the least. With character designs in particular, with storytelling, Jacob, have you noticed that a lot of people will sometimes just do a striking character design for the purpose of just covering up the fact that they have no story for this character? Or on the opposite side of the spectrum, they'll give like almost no thought to character design because they think all this backstory and all this other character stuff kind of covers up for the fact that the character design is pretty bland and boring.
Most of the time, and this is a bit unfortunate, where I see, especially in anime, people giving the most thought towards character design is when they're trying to win the Best Girl War. They'll go way over the top into this one character design, and then everyone else, usually the main character, will be just like
potatoes
stenciled out like from another show. And then, of course, that usually also follows into the actual character development, which is unfortunate. But but it is a great way to basically set expectations. So if you have a character, it's kind of like the thing of can you guess the anime main character, right?
Right. You see Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're like, well,
okay, we're going to be spending a lot of time with that guy, right? Because if the main character looked just like everybody else, you would kind of wonder, like, okay, why should I care about this guy?
Also, with character designs in particular, you can have character design themes that are unique across the entire shows. So a show like Code Geass in particular has the more lanky, tall character designs that don't look like regular human being designs. But when you see all of them together and there's no contradictions with these designs, it kind of programs your brain to go, okay, this is just how this world looks and works. And one of the things that character designs can do is kind of prepare you for future, even crazier character designs, which it seems like is what people are telling us what JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is going to be about, as we're like, whoa, the designs of these characters are so crazy and cool, and they're like, you have seen nothing yet. So that kind of element, it's an element of immersion.
Yes, absolutely.
And it brings you in a little bit more. I would say one of the characters that we're going to talk about, Jacob's character in particular, that character we were all ready for, by the character designs that are brought up by previous characters, but we were also completely not ready for the coolness that was displayed by his character's design.
Right. So should we just get right into that?
I think we should get right to it.
Okay, so this character I'm going to talk about is from the show RWBY, so another reason to watch this awesome show.
Yes.
And that is Coco.
Now, spoiler alert for those of you that haven't watched RWBY, Coco is a huge little, like, is an awesome plot reveal for the end of season 2.
Right.
And it's also her and her squad. So
yes.
They come as a package, but her alone, oh my gosh.
And this also kind of blends into the whole idea of character introductions as well, because their whole introduction is, I would say, just absolutely stellar.
Yes.
But with Coco, her design is steampunk. This is just one of the things that I really love about it. It's steampunk, but the steampunk is subtle. It's an undertone. Yeah. If you were to look at it really closely, you'd think like, oh yeah, I guess this is steampunk.
Right.
But it's not so over the top that it's jarring, because a lot of times if you have some crazy character design, like anytime I see someone in an anime that is like dressed up in like a gothic way or something like that, or whatever, like sometimes the character designs will be so over the top that you doubt you would ever see someone like that in real life. And not, I mean, it's an anime, so you can get away with some of that, but sometimes it becomes jarring.
Right.
And with this, it didn't do that at all. It stood out a lot, but it wasn't jarring. You absolutely love it. And one of the other reasons why I love this character design so much is the weapon. Now there's 2 stages to the weapon, I would say. Yeah. Its initial form and its final form. And the initial form is a handbag.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, a person in RWBY, they have all these ridiculous weapons.
Right.
And then you see this person walk in with a handbag. And you're like, okay, that's cool. Like, I want to see like what they do with that. And of course, it's awesome as a handbag. But wait, there's more. It transforms into a minigun.
Yep. And it's not mini.
And it's not. There's nothing mini about this gun. And like
50 caliber, massive thing
rotating
that just minigun
pulls out and then
like something you see mounted on a helicopter.
Right, exactly. And here you have Coco just sitting there with her sunglasses, like just smiling and just, and it's fantastic.
She decimates multiple Grimm that we had seen in a previous volume. Team RWBY as a group of 4 struggled to take down just one of them.
Right.
And she just pulls out her minigun and just goes, "You just destroyed my favorite clothing store.
Yeah.
Prepare to die." And then and carves them into little pieces.
And this totally does blend into character introductions.
It does.
But the idea that they came up with something so unique, like even if necessarily she hadn't had as awesome of a character introduction, which would have sucked, but even if she hadn't, we still would have immediately been like, okay, I want to see more of that character, right? And that's one of those powerful things that character introductions can do. Because for a character, say, like Coco, who isn't going to get a whole lot of screen time in the show, it's a way to basically get people hyped up about this character so that if you ever do, so that they'll be basically chomping at the bit to get more screen time for this character.
Right. And that whole aspect of having the character design carry the character's story beyond what the actual story of this character will be has led to Coco as a character being one of the most popular side characters in the entire show. And there's no one who emphasizes rule of cool, like, debatably more so than Coco in the RWBY side character verse of like large number of side characters. The show has a lot of side characters. And that's right, she doesn't have a lot of story, but there's a lot of things you can infer that she's also the leader of Team Coffee. She is good friends with those on her team. She inspires a lot of loyalty and a lot of like coordination. Anyway, she's just a good side character. But yes, character design wise, I would have to agree. If I had to pick a RWBY character that's not like, if I'm just going for best design out there, Coco's in the top 5 easily, and maybe the top 3 for me. It's and that's of a cast of characters that numbers in the 30s,
Right, so, and RWBY has amazing designs for all its characters.
It does. So it's impressive.
That's saying something.
Yeah, so my character is a little bit different.
Right.
My character's design is integrally tied to his story.
Yes.
So much so that I think it carries him into the stratospheres of what makes good showing, not telling character designs. I'm going to bring up All Might from My Hero Academia. So, for those of you that haven't seen any My Hero Academia, you have to leave now.
Yeah.
Like, we'll have a thing in the description for when you can come back in for end of spoilers. My Hero Academia has done some really good things, but one of the things it does is it takes simple premises, and I would say actually All Might's superhero character design, his super design, is a very simple design.
And it's not very original either.
It's not very original. Yeah. He is basically an American flag with yellow instead of white. It is pretty basic. He is a large, muscly man, blonde hair with a very, I would say his hair design is pretty unique.
Sure.
But kind of this big, brawny, muscly man, saving the world with a smile. Not super original, okay? But there's a couple things that I want to bring up that are really cool. Whenever you see him, it's from the context when it is super form, you see him from the context of someone who's a fan of All Might. So he looks even larger than life when they put shadows in specific parts of his face to make it seem like he's not fully human, and it's not like you can even, like, there's mystery to him. There's this added element of what he brings to the table is something more than just the sum of his visualized perceived parts. Also his voice, I would say, is a huge part of character design, and I have seen some of the dub for his voice, and Christopher Sabat does an amazing job with his voice, but also the Japanese voice actor does an incredible job as well. That voice carries so much of the design. You know, it's really powerful, and you get the idea that he's not just Superman,
right?
And he's not Captain America, where he's lawful good and he's too serious for his own good.
Right.
This guy really enjoys being a hero. But he's more than that. He kind of feels like someone who's over the top intentionally, and he knows it.
Yeah.
So once you reveal this is not actually All Might's real form right now, this is him posing, this is him acting, the whole idea of character design has this dichotomy of, you're like, wait a minute, which one is really All Might? They're both really All Might, but now, which one is actually giving us more story insight into who this character is? And I would argue that it's actually the smaller one by a massive margin. The bigger one is his persona.
Sure.
Or maybe if anything, it's kind of his charisma. It's the thing that goes out to affect society. His true persona is the smaller form. This frail. It's kind of, his age gets a little ambiguous too once you see him in his frail form, because you're like, wait a minute,
how old is he?
Yeah, is he 30? Is he 40? Is he 50? No, it's like you get this idea that he's ambiguously aged to give you this idea that he has experienced a lot, but he could be really young still. Like you don't know that, and that gives you this idea that there's a lot of story behind him, and he's gone through a lot, and it's weathered and made him wise in some areas. But then when you see the way he moves and acts, and the fact that his face in the older form has kind of this comical like triangle on the chin, the teeth are all goofy, the eyes look like non-existent. You get this idea like, wait, is this the comic relief version of his character? And it to an extent it is, but when he interacts with Deku in those first 2 episodes, and he's in super form, his All Might form, and his incognito form, you get to see completely different, I would say, aspects of his character, where he's hesitant, he's not as wise as you'd think, he especially in his frail form. And what this communicates is this character has huge amounts of story behind him. Huge. We get some literal exposition where he's like, the reason why this form exists is blah, blah, blah. And it's very obvious also, despite him saying it a specific way. I know there was a little bit of debate amongst our patrons and commenters and stuff that some people were trying to lead us in the comments and stuff. I stand by that, but the gist of it is we already kind of knew that the whole explanation that was sort of given, we knew it was something more than that. It wasn't the obvious thing of, oh, this toxic chainsaw was the one that wounded me and stuff. But sorry, what?
But back to the character design itself.
Yes.
Like, okay, now maybe that, like, this was one of the impressions that I got from All Might, and I want to bounce this off you to see if, like, it's just me or but it seemed like they were basically, one of the reasons that All Might's character design was so good was because they were basically making him look like a Captain America mixed with Superman. Like, they were taking something that was that would be very familiar, identifiable and all that stuff, and they decided to own it. Like, they because they knew that those specific, like, designs would communicate certain feelings and thoughts, right? The idea that this person is, you know, a lawful good, upstanding, you know, fight the good fight, all that stuff. And very much sort of like that symbol. And they ended up, like, tying into that a lot in the story, and I thought that was one of those things that I just absolutely loved, because it was something that I expected because of just how they drew him. You know?
Sure.
Like,
yeah, they didn't waste a lot of time basically communicating exactly what kind of character All Might was by his design. His design isn't confusing. You get it immediately. And also, I think the first time you technically see All Might might be in the intro, where you see the back of him and he's kind of turning to face Midoriya, and he's kind of holding out his hand to reach towards him. And that tells you actually a little bit more about the entire dynamic, right in the beginning. But
I love that shot.
All Might being this unattainable god among men isn't actually who he is. And it's the idea that once you see him in his other form, a million questions come up.
Yes.
And any character design that inspires questions by the viewer is huge. If you just have them ask 2 questions, it's an okay character design. If you have them asking in their head an unfathomable number of questions, you've won the lottery. You've done something
pretty much
special. And I would say All Might, when I first watched this show, was that character, specifically with the design in some aspects, that carried a huge portion of the story into, like, top tier stories I wanted to experience and watch. So All Might, and also the crazy thing is that we're still finding out things slowly but surely, more and more, about All Might's, not only his story with what it means for him to be a hero, but what it means for him to essentially put on these forms and take them off. So probably one of, if not the best character in My Hero Academia. It's really good, and the design, of course, does a huge portion of that. So end spoilers.
This is where you can come back in. So now let's go on to the questions.
Yes. So Min Sek Kim asks, when, not if, we reach the 4,000 milestone on Patreon, will you prioritize starting a new series or a second episode of whatever anime you're watching? I know you did with Hunter x Hunter, but are you willing to have this sort of place with other anime like JoJo? Willing, yes, but if it comes in down to percentages, we are like 90% focused on bringing in new stories and anime into the reaction fold.
Daw. So, from the shows you have reacted to on this channel, which of those worlds would you want to live in?
My Hero Academia?
Yeah, My Hero Academia. Yeah.
It seems pretty happy-go-lucky. It seems pretty safe for now.
Yeah, not like One Punch Man or something.
Yeah,
and you could get a quirk.
And you could get a quirk. In fact, almost odds are both of us would get a quirk. Yeah. Another question. Would you rather have a very interesting life that you knew was fictional or an average life that you knew was real? So both of these, we know that one is fake and one isn't real. So we are aware of this.
Right.
But it's basically just asking, would you rather have an interesting life or an average life? Like, here's the thing. Like, what is real and fictional if you think about it?
And if you're spending your whole life in one
or the other,
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. So I would definitely pick very interesting life that was fictional.
Yeah. Same here.
Ian asks, what is your guys' advice for sustaining the middle of a story? Oh, how do you move a main character from the beginning to the climax in a way that's neither a boring straight line nor an interminable bog? That's a great point to bring up. And then how do subplots play into this, and what is the most effective way to use them? I will both answer this question for sure.
Yeah. So one of the things that I would say is that you need to have your main character have a very strong why, and it needs to be something that's clearly defined, like in one sentence.
Right.
That will basically be your guiding compass the whole way there. And if your character is a character that really cares, and you get the audience, through that to care about the main character, they'll kind of follow them wherever they need to go.
Yes.
So that's the, I would say, the best way to do it.
I want to bring up the subplots thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm a huge subplots fan. Like, anytime a story is just main plot, I'm like, okay, so this character doesn't fail is what I'm hearing. So one of the things that I like to see in my characters, who are the main characters, kind of driving the, main plot. Hopefully they're driving the main plot. They don't have to be, but maybe they are. Is they're going to mess up. They're going to screw up. They're going to do things that will not have optimal results, and that will knock them into a subplot.
Sure.
One of the things that happens quite often in heroes in anime is the subplots become just kind of a thing they just decide to do. We're going to have a beach episode. We're going to go and fight off a week of the monster of the week, thing here. We're going to go save this random town. There's a lot of times where they throw the original goal out the window, out off to the side, and it's very jarring. You go, well, this doesn't line up with anyone's character stuff here. So what you can do is have the antagonist actually slow down, dislodge, or stop the main character or characters from walking the main plotline path, so that they have to we have to rejoin the main plotline path by the way of a subplot.
Sure.
And that can be very engaging.
Absolutely.
If they have to deal with their own struggles of what it means to have basically fallen off the plotline path.
One other thing I want to say is that don't play your whole hand. So always, one of the things that subplots do is they basically keep there being like a little mini build up and climax as you go through the story, right? So there's always something that they're like, all right, they want to read that next chapter or watch that next episode for. And whenever you resolve one, you also want to introduce another. Not necessarily at the exact same time, but you want there to always be something to basically lead them on to the next step.
Right. And there's ways you can do that are, I would say, kind of generic, but I would say that doesn't make it a bad thing. Just having some kind of connecting dot to bring them to a different subplot or to the back to the main plot is good. And that's why I always recommend writing out either character motivations, like all of them, first, or an outline with kind of a this happened and this happened and this happened kind of generic stuff, so you can kind of see at least the points that you want to hit, and then you draw the connecting fluid that brings it all together.
All right, so Isotropy Anime.
You always have such funny questions.
You do.
Would you rather have a mechanical, self-aware T-Rex as a pet or a gigantic dragon as a pet? So I'm guessing each of these we have control over.
Right.
Because they're a pet, but we have to maybe please them by giving them food and making sure they get walks. Burn some villages, here and there. It's tough because one of the things that's interesting is dragons are very, there's multiple definitions of kind of what makes a dragon and different interpretations.
We just know it's a gigantic dragon.
We just know it's big.
Yeah.
And a mechanical self-aware T-Rex, these are both very aggressive animals. So I would like the dragon if it's a magical dragon. Like, it's something that
Are there
goes...
any dragons that aren't?
No. I mean, well, yes. Yes, there are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's actually sometimes there's dragon stories where they focus specifically on saying, well, this is a self-aware, talking, telepathic magic dragon.
Sure.
And then there's the dumb beast dragons that...
Yeah,
like, Lord of the Rings brings that up a couple times, is you have someone like... Smog, yeah.
Yeah, and then you just have, like, the worms or whatever.
Well, then you also get into the big ones. You have Ancalagon, where it's like, how big is gigantic? Because when I think of... There's some people that say big, and then there's massive, and then there's gigantic.
Yeah.
So I'm going
Spanning mountains.
Right.
Like...
If I could have Ancalagon the Black, and he was, like, my pet, and he loved me, and he wouldn't kill me... I'd want
Glaron.
I'd want Ancalagon.
Okay.
I'd go all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, Ancalagon, I don't care what country comes up against me.
Yeah.
Go look up Ancalagon the Black on
just online.
Online.
Yeah.
And scale him to other dragons.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Smog is like a little tiny thing next to him.
Little tiny thing there.
All right. So,
would you rather never have brain farts again or never have hiccups again?
Brain
farts.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, you're writing.
Oh, yeah.
Every 5 minutes, your brain just goes...
Nope. The thing that would be even worse is, imagine if you ever have to do any kind of public speaking.
I can kind of wing it.
Even if you have a brain fart?
Well...
Like, if you have hiccups, you can just, like...
Well, no. Hiccups would actually be worse if you're public speaking.
Maybe.
In that regard. Yeah.
All right. What is so far your favorite episode of My Hero Academia, and why? Is this really much of a debate? I mean, it is.
Well, it is.
But
it is, though.
But episode 10, like
of season 2.
Yeah, like
so
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Would you rather be an angel or a demon?
Same thing, right? Like,
yeah.
Jacob would rather be a fallen angel.
That's technically demon.
Book plug.
But, yeah. But yeah, angel.
Oh, you'd be an angel?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think in lore, angels are generally stronger than demons.
Right. Well, plus I always like I'm one of those people that actually likes the idea of being the paladin, you know?
It's interesting because I think if we take, like, the Diablo universe and stuff, Tyrael is, like, my man, dude. Tyrael. Blizzard game, look it up. What would be the perfect quirk for a villain? Oh,
time stopping.
Oh, no. Okay, wait. Go into this. Time stopping.
Time stopping is always OP because if you have any kind of weapon or something, you can just kill anybody.
But okay,
time travel would be the perfect one.
Okay, but there's obvious things that would be the strongest.
Okay,
but I mean,
the
like,
perfect quirk for a villain. Okay,
yeah, I want something.
Telepathy.
You're so boring. Okay,
no.
I'm going to talk about a quirk that actually involves the upgrading of intelligence. Okay. Something that
like Sylar.
No, like basically a problem-solving quirk where someone can always see the solution to a problem.
Okay.
Now, think about this from a villain's perspective. They look around their environment and they're a villain like Stain or something, and they see society as the problem. Well,
they are the solution.
What if Stain is wrong and he just sees the problem, but he doesn't actually see the solution? If you had a villain that saw the solution to everything, that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
They would be a hero and actually a villain in disguise. Like, you would have a hero that goes around saving the world and would all along be just the most horrifying villain. Like, that's...
Sure, that's like... Yeah, okay.
Like, I don't want to give a villain an evil quirk. Like, a stereotypically, like, evil thing. Like, I can explode people's heads by just going, you know?
Yeah,
That's dumb. But a quirk that makes them seem like a hero...
Sure.
Because the thing that makes a villain is nothing to do with their quirk.
Right.
It's just the fact that they decide to do
things
that
with
are, you know, against humanity. So giving someone a quirk that would be very useful as a hero,
sure,
that rubs me the wrong way. Okay.
What is your favorite episode of Death Note?
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
We like Death Note up until a certain thing that happens, and you all know what that thing is.
happens.
But, in a way, that thing happening kind of makes it one of our favorite episodes, because it's like, we love it and we hate it.
Right. I don't remember a whole lot of the individual episodes from Death Note.
The Death Note thing was actually one of the few animes that I binged.
Right.
I did not watch it.
It was very bingeable.
It was. The plot was very fast-paced, and there were a lot of cliffhangers, so it was hard to not binge it. I want to say that there's a couple ones where Light is being watched.
Yep. I was going to say, I know what my favorite one actually is.
The potato chip.
I'm going to have to take this potato chip
and eat it. That's a really good one. I want to bring up, there's another good one where he ends up, it's weird because I don't know the name of the episode, but it's the one where he kills the girl in the umbrella at the rain.
Yes,
that's
that one was really good too.
Because the build up to it, it's one of the first few deaths that he does that are like in person, where he yeah that episode was very good,
and especially the fact that he made her kill herself, like that. All
right, Jermaine 4, of course, you do awesome questions, dude.
Yep.
If you were to travel through time and place, where would you like to be sent?
And what one item will you bring with you? Can't travel to the future and can only bring one item.
Oh, okay, so we're actually traveling to the past,
right?
And we can bring one item with us.
Yeah.
Whoa. Would you want to travel that far back, actually, if you could bring an item? Because I think if you brought an item too far back, you just end up getting killed.
Unless this item is like...
Oh, no. Here we go, Jacob.
Okay.
Jake's going to break your little system of questions here.
If you could go back into the past, but you could bring, like something... Like, you need to bring something really big. Like...
Oh no!
Like a computer network, or like,
how would you use it? You don't have electricity.
That's right. Okay.
How far back are you going?
That's a great point. So maybe what instead you would do is you would go back. Okay, this. I want to bring back a computer network, like, and
to which time?
Actually, and go back to like 1920s. Like 1930s?
Okay.
Or, no, this is what I'd do. I'd go back to the Great Depression.
Oh my gosh.
And I would bring with me, like $1 billion or something like that.
Oh my gosh. That's technically 1 billion items, but, because there's
it'd be a suitcase or whatever, or a bank vault with $1 billion in it.
Save the world.
Yeah, like...
But would you technically save the world? I don't know.
I'd own the U.S.
Oh my god. He's a villain, guys. He's a villain.
I would be
confirmed.
I would be a good guy. I'd be nice.
I would rule my subjects with. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so mine would probably be bringing. Like, I don't want to go that far back. I'm a really big history buff, and I know that, like, my lifespan drops dramatically the more I go back in time.
Right.
If I want to live to be 35, I go back, 5,000 years or something like that. But one of the things that you could do is you could go back in time to, kind of the time of the formation of this country. And I could just bring a history book.
Sure.
One of the things that you could do that would be very, very interesting is, if you were at least, I might be able to, I might get killed or hung or something, but it's basically convince people to, basically take some things a little bit more seriously.
Sure.
And a little bit less cavalier. And maybe this is actually something to where it would be a little bit tough to do this, but if I was in some kind of future where I could bring back some item that doesn't exist right now, I would want to bring back some kind of item that would record audio in such a way that we could have basically something passing down through history, so that people, in the U.S. would know kind of, oh, this is a culmination of a lot of the learnings and things that we've gathered from the past. So maybe having a smartphone, and therefore
and the charger to go with it, and the internet and all that stuff.
Well, that's another good point.
See, yeah, that's why I just bring back money. Like, because money you can turn into sort of whatever.
Well, yeah, but they wouldn't accept the money because it doesn't.
So you bring back like actual hard stuff, like diamonds or
but that's multiple items. So it's kind of tough. I think I would do the history book thing then, because I wouldn't feel like I'd want to really dramatically change anything more than just kind of influencing a few people's ideas on things. So, So yeah.
All right.
Good questions though.
Yeah.
What are your fears and have you ever overcome them? Well, let's do just one fear.
Yeah. So
I'm deathly afraid of spiders. Like I have been traumatized multiple times in my young childhood by spiders and falling into spider nests and having spiders crawl all over me and being bitten by spiders and all that. So I have not overcome this fear. I don't care about overcoming this fear. I don't need to interact with spiders. Spiders just kill bugs, and I don't care about what they do, so they do what they do, and I don't... Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. What about you?
I would say one of the biggest fears I can think of is just writing in general. Like, the idea of basically pursuing my dreams as a wholehearted thing of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, because there's always that fear of failure, and I remember being really scared, like, oh crap, is this going to be one of those things where I'm going to try and go after it, and either I'll go after it and fail, or even worse, I'll just half-ass it. Like, so and I'd like to think I'm over in the process of overcoming that fear. I still have a ways to go.
Next question: between both of you, have you ever arm wrestled, and who is stronger between both of you? Is there any sport that one of you can clean the floor against the other? Well, this is kind of easy.
Right.
We both have arm wrestled.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Jacob is a lot stronger now.
Yeah. So
it would be pretty even now, but he probably could win now. I don't have as much upper body strength as he does. I have a lot more lower body strength, because this ties into the sport that I can clean the floor against the other with.
Ultimate Frisbee.
I am an ultimate Frisbee madman.
Yeah.
So I play probably 5 times a week minimum.
Right.
And that's a lot of time for a sport that I'm not taking professionally.
Right. So yeah, he'd wipe the floor.
Right. Jacob's not as much of a sports guy.
In the making of a book, show, or anime, what do you see as one of the crucial things to be done for the public to like it? What are some good and bad examples? What needs to be done so people won't leave early on? Is there something besides character introduction for the people to love it?
Let's just run over a couple just obvious things. Simple premise, good execution. You need to... I think that combination, having a simple premise that everyone can get behind, and making execution on said premise very, very, very well done. Good and bad examples.
Ooh, okay, here's a great example, I would say.
Yeah.
Haruhi. So I love to harp on Haruhi, but basically, as far as like, because you want the premise to be simple, like one sentence can be communicated. And when I'm trying to get someone to watch Haruhi, I basically say, imagine a show where God, God is a girl, but she doesn't know it, and she's really bored.
Right. I don't like Haruhi, so that's one of those things where he says the execution is great.
Well, but some parts of the execution definitely aren't great.
That's an example of something where I would say the public wouldn't like it, because there's not going to be a live-action adaptation of Haruhi anytime soon.
Well, yeah, that'd be like impossible.
No, that's the thing, though. It's not that it would be impossible. It's actually very easy. No one would like it. In terms of the general public, you want general public stuff. You want to have like really, really simple executions, because that's actually I would say not as simple as a premise as it. It's easy to communicate, but the premise isn't easy to communicate. Is Star Wars. Star Wars is basically
they just took the hero's journey.
They just boy becomes a hero and saves the princess. Right. That's basically the whole thing. Yep. And then they execute it very well.
Right.
That's it.
Oh, having an interesting world.
We have to go into bad examples, though.
Okay, bad examples.
I would say a bad example is something where you get a story like, I would say a bad example that's like of a good show is Darker Than Black. Darker Than Black is a good show, I would say, but it falls flat in the public kind of acceptance thing, because it's a good show,
But it does a lot of things differently.
It has a very confusing premise.
Right.
It has a very confusing pacing of execution.
Right.
And the thing that saves it are cool fights, cool character designs, really cool plot in certain areas. And
but like the fact that they oftentimes don't show it from the main character's perspective, like that the main character is just another person in the environment, is really cool.
Yes.
But it's not something that will get mass appeal because it is a bit confusing.
It is. So what were the thing you were going to say? What needs to be done so people won't leave early on? Besides
start the story where the story starts.
Sure.
So, wherever...
There's so much exposition dumping that happens generally in the beginning of stories that are fantasy or sci-fi or even just anime in general.
Yep. Or okay, don't assume that they'll do the 3-episode rule. Go for the 3-minute rule.
Yes.
Like I know that we can say, watch episode 3 of Madoka Magica as much as we want, but Madoka should not have made that be a thing that you have to do.
Well, they didn't. The first 3 minutes actually sets up the entire show.
And that's why they made sure to do that, because otherwise that would have been a big problem.
Yes.
So having some, just introducing some questions at the very beginning will do loads, because even if it's a really basic question, like that's why murder mystery, like cop shows exist.
Yeah.
Because even if it's kind of a simple, silly question, people don't like having questions unanswered.
Right. Is there something besides character introductions for the people to love it? Yes, I would say the actual plot itself, the moving of element to element of story. That's probably one of the most important things.
And also world building.
I would say world building is
that was one of the big ones for Attack on Titan.
Yes, I know, but that is definitely a much more secondary thing when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
All right, Frosted Steel asks, have you ever experienced a story that you felt had so much potential for greatness and failed to live up to it, even though the story is fine, you still dislike it?
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, do you want to talk about Bleach, or do you want to talk about, Heroes?
No, you talk about yours, I'll talk about mine.
Okay, so, I really like how Bleach started. I know a lot of people say that, the best parts of Bleach are the Soul Society arc. I actually think the best parts of Bleach were at the beginning when Ichigo and Rukia are running around school trying to keep their, special superhero job a secret, with their awesome banter, while at the same time saving their classmates and making it to school on time, and, people never finding Ichigo's, dead body. I loved that.
Right.
When it got into the rest of the show, the Soul Society arc, I loved that too, but I always ended up wishing, if only it would go back to that other stuff. If only it had actually, kept that to be the main focus of the story and just done that. I feel it could have done it really well.
Yeah. Yeah. So mine is actually a live action thing.
Okay.
And it's Star Trek. So this is very, 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 very shots fired.
Shots fired.
But basically, anytime someone told me about Star Trek, they're like, "This is true sci-fi. You're gonna love this. It's a show, so you have to kind of give it some time, but it's really good." Every single time, I was just thrown against a wall of just poor execution, almost every single time. And I've watched every single series of this dang thing. Not finished, of course, because if I liked it, I would have finished. But every single one, I would say the closest one that got to be good was Voyager.
Yeah, Voyager was pretty good.
Voyager was pretty good. The problem was, Okay. So I'm a Star Wars guy, so I'm biased in that regard, but I don't talk about Star Wars as being the greatest thing of all time. It's a nostalgia, joy trip. I just, there. But I said it. But Star Trek, I was really excited to basically enjoy good classic sci-fi. Yep. And every iteration that I watched, I couldn't really get behind. And I know that's a thing that a lot of people are going to kind of hate me for, but I just didn't enjoy it.
I actually love that you brought that up, because I agree. If you think about Star Trek, it's episodic, and most of the episodes, I know there's standout stuff, but most of the episodes are like exactly the same. There's some weird thing that happens and they have to resolve it, whatever, in 45 minutes. It's, for being like a classic sci-fi, it's so unimaginative. Like, most of the time. There's the exceptions, but most of the time, it is unimaginative as hell. Like, all the aliens are just, I get that they had costume limitations, but like, all the aliens are basically the same as humans, and like...
Well, okay, there's a lot of things we could go on about it, but the gist of it is, we think the story of Star Trek is fine. It's okay. But we don't like it.
Yeah.
We don't like it. All right, if you had to choose one trope to be erased from existence, which would you choose? Oh, I know exactly. Which one would you do?
Well, no, you first.
I'll go first this time. So anytime we have needless character deaths to push a different character's story up, basically the sacrificing of a character to push another character for, like, no reason. Like, they just basically like, oh, we're just going to do it because we don't know any other way to write development for a character. It pisses me off because I really like character deaths that matter, but when it's used primarily just to thrust another character into the the story development thing, it ticks me off because I am a fan of character deaths, like really good ones, and most of the really good ones, unfortunately, even those good ones have some element of this trope, and it's lazy.
Yeah, I agree
because the Game of Thrones influence of nowadays in TV shows is bringing this up more and more. So I feel like it needs to be talked about right now.
All right, so this one is a bit more niche in that you will not see it outside of anime, I don't think.
Oh,
but,
sure.
But I don't understand how it possibly came to exist, and
I
that
can probably
is
tell you once you say it.
The Emoto trope, the little sister.
Never mind. People are gross.
Why? And like, okay, like if that's like a thing that happens in like its own like distant shows, then maybe I could sort of get my head around it. But it seems to be everywhere. We're basically, and it's not just necessarily the little sister, but basically any kind of lolly pandering fan service that's like, it's tainted anime, I would say, to an extent where there could be characters that are 12-year-olds, right? That could be girls or whatever, and you could have like stuff with the characters happen in the story, but now anytime that kind of stuff happens, I'm wondering like, oh crap, is this gonna be an issue? Like,
all right. That's a great one. Let's move on, that we don't have a lot of time. All right, so this last question here. Now let's go down the opposite path. If you had to choose one trope that would be in every story from this point forward, which would you choose? Oh, I really appreciate the aspect in the hero's journey, and it's a trope. It's a very good trope, and it's in a lot of things, but I love the mentor trope. Anytime you have a character who is sought out or seeks out the main character, or the main character seeks out the mentor, and they have a very good mentor main character dynamic, it's amazing. Because one of the problems I have in, say, something like Disney is Disney ruins the parental kind of structure so that the mentor figure either doesn't end up being there and they have to kind of pull themselves up by their own bootstraps, which I'm all for individualism. I'm all for the whole idea of you go your free will and you go do a thing and it's awesome. But the power of having a mentor in your life is unfathomable. I mean, sorry, I can't speak anymore. But like it's immeasurable.
Yeah.
You cannot put a value on it.
Right.
So I want that story to be just in every story, not directly with this is the mentor figure, but having that trope be there in a facet in every story is good, because anyone that develops doesn't do it alone.
Sure. Yes.
I am a huge believer in the nature and nurture argument being very much a split thing. It is not one or the other. There is a give and take. There is a push and pull with this whole thing. So that's my trope.
Okay. My trope, coming full circle. Because here's I'm sure you could do coming full circle badly, but at the very least, it will cause the character in question to reflect on how far they've come.
Yes.
And that can be an amazing thing in stories, because so often we get either bland protagonists that just win or whatever, or we'll get people that are so, like, in the present, they don't think about, like, oh, wow, yeah, like, guys, we've been on a journey together.
Yeah.
And I would just love to see more of that. So I would not mind it being in every story.
Yeah, coming full circle is a really powerful one. I like a lot of stories too.
All
right, guys. Well, those are some great questions.
Yep.
Ending the podcast here. Be sure to leave your questions for future podcasts in the comments down below.
That's right.
And we'll see you later. Until then, though, Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.